You know, there's something about getting older that makes us think a little more carefully about the way we live our lives. Maybe it's the wisdom that comes with age. Or maybe it's just that we start to notice how our bodies respond differently to the things we've always done. Have you ever woken up feeling more tired than when you went to bed? Or maybe you've had a night where you just couldn't seem to settle down, no matter how hard you tried? It's frustrating, isn't it? And sometimes it's more than just frustrating, it can be a sign that something needs to change. A few weeks ago, I heard a story that really stuck with me. A 72-year-old man, much like many of us, went to bed one night and never woke up. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? But what's even more sobering is that his passing might have been linked to some common bedtime habits that many of us don't think twice about. That's why today, I want to talk about 4 bedtime habits that after the age of 70, you might want to avoid. These aren't just random tips. They're based on what we know about how our bodies change as we age and how small adjustments can make a big difference in our health and well-being. Now I know what you might be thinking. I've been sleeping the same way for decades. Why change now? And I get it. Change isn't always easy, especially when it comes to something as personal as our bedtime routines. But here's the thing. Our bodies aren't the same as they were 20 or even 10 years ago. What worked for us then might not be what's best for us now, and that's okay. It's all about adapting and finding new ways to take care of ourselves so we can enjoy our lives to the fullest. So let's dive into the first habit: eating a heavy meal right before bed. Now I know how tempting it can be to have a big dinner or even a late-night snack. Maybe it's a family tradition. Or maybe it's just something you've always done. But here's the problem. When we eat a large meal close to bedtime, our bodies have to work hard to digest that food, and that can interfere with our sleep. Instead of relaxing and preparing for rest, our digestive system is in overdrive, which can lead to discomfort, indigestion, and even acid reflux. And let's be honest, none of those things make for a good night's sleep. But it's not just about the discomfort. As we age, our metabolism slows down, and our bodies don't process food as efficiently as they used to. That means that heavy meal you ate before bed, it's more likely to sit in your stomach, causing bloating and making it harder to fall asleep. And if you're someone who struggles with heartburn, lying down after eating can make it even worse. So what's the solution? Try to finish your last meal at least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. If you're feeling hungry later in the evening, opt for something light and easy to digest, like a small piece of fruit or a handful of nuts. It's a small change, but it can make a big difference in how you feel when you wake up. Now let's talk about the second habit: drinking caffeine or alcohol too close to bedtime. I know. This one might be a tough pill to swallow. For many of us, a cup of coffee in the afternoon or a glass of wine in the evening is a cherished ritual. But here's the thing. Both caffeine and alcohol can have a significant impact on the quality of our sleep, especially as we get older. Let's start with caffeine. It's no secret that caffeine is a stimulant, and it can stay in your system for hours after you consume it. That means that even if you have a cup of coffee in the late afternoon, it could still be affecting you when you're trying to fall asleep at night. And as we age, our bodies become more sensitive to caffeine. So what might not have bothered you in your 40s or 50s could keep you tossing and turning in your 70s. If you're someone who loves their coffee, try to have your last cup by mid-afternoon. And if you're looking for a warm drink in the evening, consider switching to something caffeine-free, like herbal tea. Now let's talk about alcohol. It's true that a glass of wine or a nightcap might help you feel relaxed and sleepy at first. But here's the catch. Alcohol can actually disrupt your sleep cycle. It might help you fall asleep faster, but it can also cause you to wake up during the night, leaving you feeling less rested in the morning. And as we age, our bodies process alcohol more slowly, which means those effects can be even more pronounced. If you enjoy a drink in the evening, try to have it earlier in the night and limit yourself to 1 glass. That way, you can still enjoy your favorite beverage without sacrificing a good night's sleep. Now that we've covered these first 2 habits, let's move on to the next one, which is all about creating the right environment for sleep. but we'll save that for the next part of our conversation. For now, think about how these first two habits might be affecting your sleep, and what small changes you could make to improve it. Remember, it's not about overhauling your entire routine overnight. It's about making thoughtful adjustments that help you feel your best. So take a moment to reflect, and when you're ready, we'll dive into the next steps together. Now that we've talked about the importance of avoiding heavy meals and limiting caffeine and alcohol before bed, let's move on to the third habit, creating the right sleep environment. You might not realize it, but the space where you sleep plays a huge role in how well you rest. Think about it. When you walk into a calm, quiet, and comfortable room, it's much easier to relax and drift off to sleep. But if your bedroom is cluttered, noisy, or too bright, it can be a real challenge to get the rest you need. Let's start with the basics: your mattress and pillows. If you've been using the same mattress for 15 or 20 years, it might be time for an upgrade. Over time, mattresses lose their support, and that can lead to aches and pains that disrupt your sleep. The same goes for your pillows. If you're waking up with a stiff neck or sore shoulders, it could be a sign that your pillow isn't providing the right support. Investing in a good quality mattress and pillows might feel like a big step, but it's one of the best things you can do for your sleep and your overall health. Next, let's talk about light and noise. As we age, many of us become more sensitive to these environmental factors. Even a small amount of light creeping through the curtains or the sound of a ticking clock can make it harder to fall asleep or stay asleep. If you're someone who's easily disturbed by light, consider using blackout curtains or a sleep mask. And if noise is an issue, a white noise machine or even a simple fan can help drown out those distracting sounds. The goal is to create a space that feels peaceful and calming, so your body knows it's time to rest. Temperature is another important factor. Many of us find that we sleep better in a cool room, and there's actually a scientific reason for that. As part of the natural sleep cycle, our body temperature drops slightly to help us fall asleep. If your room is too warm, it can interfere with that process and make it harder to drift off. Aim for a room temperature between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. It might feel a little chilly at first, but you'll likely find that it helps you sleep more soundly. Now let's move on to the fourth habit, using electronic devices before bed. This one is a biggie, and I know it's not always easy to avoid. Whether it's watching TV, scrolling through your phone, or reading on a tablet, many of us rely on these devices to unwind at the end of the day. But here's the problem. The blue light emitted by screens can interfere with your body's production of melatonin, the hormone that helps regulate sleep. And when your melatonin levels are disrupted, it can be much harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. But it's not just the light that's the issue. The content we consume on these devices can also have an impact. Watching an intense movie or reading stressful news articles can stimulate your brain and make it harder to relax. Instead of winding down, you might find yourself feeling more alert and anxious, not exactly the ideal state for a good night's sleep. So what's the solution? Try to power down your devices at least an hour before bedtime. If you're someone who likes to read before bed, consider switching to a physical book or an e-reader that doesn't emit blue light. And if you're not ready to give up your evening TV time, try to choose something calming and light-hearted, nothing that's going to get your adrenaline pumping. Now, I know that breaking these habits can feel overwhelming, especially if they've been part of your routine for years. But remember, it's not about making all these changes at once. Start small. Maybe this week, you focus on creating a more comfortable sleep environment by adjusting your room temperature or investing in a new pillow. Next week, you could try cutting back on caffeine in the afternoon or setting a timer to remind yourself to turn off your devices an hour before bed. The key is to take it one step at a time and give yourself grace as you make these adjustments. And here's something else to keep in mind: these changes aren't just about avoiding negative outcomes, they're about creating positive ones. When you prioritize good sleep, you're not just reducing your risk of health issues, you're also giving yourself the energy and clarity to enjoy your days. Whether it's spending time with loved ones, pursuing a hobby, or simply feeling more like yourself, better sleep can make a world of difference. So, as we wrap up this part of our conversation, I want to encourage you to think about how these habits might be affecting your sleep and what small changes you could make to improve it. Maybe it's as simple as dimming the lights in your bedroom or swapping out that late night snack for a cup of herbal tea. Whatever it is, remember that you're not just doing this for your sleep, you're doing it for your overall well-being. In the next part, we'll dive into the final habits and wrap up with some practical tips to help you put all of this into action. But for now, take a moment to reflect on what we've covered so far. What resonates with you? What feels doable? And most importantly, what's one small step you can take tonight to start improving your sleep? Let's keep this conversation going, because when it comes to your health and happiness, every little bit counts. We've covered a lot of ground so far, haven't we? From avoiding heavy meals and limiting caffeine to creating a sleep-friendly environment and stepping away from screens before bed, these habits are all about setting the stage for a better night's rest. But there's one more habit I want to talk about, and it's one that often gets overlooked: managing stress and anxiety before bed. Let's face it, life can be stressful, especially as we get older. Whether it's worrying about health, finances, or family, those thoughts have a way of creeping in just as we're trying to wind down for the night. And when that happens, it can feel nearly impossible to quiet your mind and fall asleep. The truth is, stress and sleep are deeply connected. When we're stressed, our bodies produce cortisol, a hormone that keeps us alert and awake. And if you've ever lain in bed with your mind racing, you know exactly how that feels. The good news is, there are ways to manage stress and create a sense of calm before bed. One of the most effective strategies is to establish a relaxing bedtime routine. This could include things like gentle stretching, deep breathing exercises, or even a few minutes of meditation. The goal is to signal to your body and mind that it's time to unwind and let go of the day's worries. Another helpful tool is journaling. If you find that your mind is filled with to-do lists or concerns, try writing them down before bed. Getting those thoughts out of your head and onto paper can be incredibly freeing. You don't need to write a novel. Just a few sentences or a quick list can make a big difference. And if there's something particularly troubling you, try jotting down 1 or 2 actionable steps you can take the next day. This way you're not just dwelling on the problem, you're creating a plan to address it, which can help ease your mind. Now let's take a moment to tie all of this together. We've talked about 5 key habits to avoid after 70: eating heavy meals before bed, consuming caffeine or alcohol too late in the day, neglecting your sleep environment, using electronic devices before bed, and letting stress take over at night. Each of these habits can interfere with your sleep in different ways, but the good news is that they're all within your control. By making small, thoughtful changes, you can create a bedtime routine that supports your health and helps you wake up feeling refreshed. But here's the thing: change doesn't happen overnight. It's okay to take it one step at a time. Maybe this week, you focus on cutting back on caffeine or setting a consistent bedtime. Next week, you could try dimming the lights in your bedroom or spending a few minutes journaling before bed. The key is to be patient with yourself and celebrate the small victories along the way. Remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's about making progress. And let's not forget the bigger picture. When you prioritize good sleep, you're not just improving your nights, you're improving your days too. Better sleep means more energy, a clearer mind, and a stronger immune system. It means being able to enjoy the things you love, whether that's spending time with family, pursuing a hobby, or simply feeling like your best self. So while it might take a little effort to break these habits, the payoff is more than worth it. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. You deserve to feel good. You deserve to wake up each morning feeling rested and ready to take on the day. And while there's no magic formula for perfect sleep, these habits are a great place to start. So take a deep breath and know that you're not alone in this. We're all figuring it out as we go, and every small step you take is a step in the right direction. If you found this conversation helpful, I'd love to hear from you. What habits are you going to try? What's been your biggest challenge when it comes to sleep? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear your stories. And if you know someone who might benefit from this video, please share it with them. After all, we're all in this together. Finally, if you haven't already, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more tips and advice on living your best life at any age. Thank you so much for joining me today. And remember, here's to better sleep, brighter mornings, and living your best life. You've got this.